Good morning, everybody. It's Leslie Denny calling, and Merlin is here as well. And thanks for joining us today for our stretch and release class. I have a little bit of a different setup here today because with this particular class, we're going to use the wall quite a bit. And we're going to use the wall in a couple of different ways. So you'll have my back to you occasionally, but then we'll swing it back around so that you can try to follow along. I sure appreciate you joining us today, and I hope your day is going well. It's beautiful outside where I am, and I hope it's just lovely outside where you are too. And let me show you what we've got going on today. We have the usual suspects. So we're going to use a block today, as well as just one large alpha ball. That's the biggest of the balls. And then a small twin set. You want to keep it in the mesh tote for now. And then a strap, any kind of yoga strap will do. And remember, we've said frequently for the last few weeks that if you don't have a strap, a belt or a tie or a scarf will work really well. And if you don't have a block, some large book will work out just as well. In fact, my beautiful friend Diane sent me a picture. I think it was a book of American history that she wasn't reading that worked really well as a yoga block. So whatever works for you is great for me. The quote that I have to share with you today, let me draw this over and pop off screen here for a moment, comes from Willie Nelson, country western singer, been around forever. I don't know if you've ever had a chance to see him, but he is a fabulous, not just artist, but songwriter as well. And he said, once you replace negative thoughts with positive ones, you'll start having positive results. That is hard to do sometimes. I've said that if you Google, if this goes on into the future, where you would come back here and watch this one and see what the actual live date was, and Google the date, you'll see that we're in very unusual times. We are living in historical times that in the future, those of us that have experienced it will talk about it a lot. And how we got up in the morning, adjusted ourselves, and moved on through the day, and connected with ourselves means so much at the end of it. I often think about times where my behavior was less than I probably could have made it. And because of it, when an experience that was challenging was all over, I wasn't very, I just wasn't very proud of myself. I thought to myself, I could have handled that a little bit better. And I tell myself that each morning that I get up. And when I started looking at that phrase of once you replace negative thoughts with positive ones, you'll start having positive results, I try to do that each day. It's not so easy on some days, but on some days it is a lot easier. There might be a day with a rhythm and flow that you get up in the morning and you just feel great, and world is great, and you know that you have things that you're looking forward to, and connections that are going to be made that lift you up. Those are those environmental circumstances that can help lift us up. But when we have to do the work within our hearts, our minds, and our souls, then that's when we really start to build this powerful body. So when I was thinking about replacing a negative thought with a positive one, I thought, when we think about our intention, our sankalpa, we talk about that a lot in our yoga classes. It's that statement that begins with the words, I am, soham. And it dovetails with an adjective where you would like to see yourself. And maybe that's not where you are right now, but if you keep perpetuating that intention inside your mind and your heart, then pretty soon those things that you would deign to be begin to come into existence. And sometimes they're difficult, and sometimes it's easier, but just offering yourself that intention can help transform you. So what I did was I Googled motivational words. And what I brought up, and you could Google this online for yourself, and I found this one JPEG. I'm going to bring it closer to the screen. that had all of these wonderful words that you could choose to offer yourself an idea of motivation. Just by picking a word to end that intention made for something a little more powerful than maybe the norm. So when you think, even in just the word itself, what are the words that popped up to me? The first word that came to me was dedication. I am dedication. And when I thought about that, I thought, you know, I'm dedicated to trying to provide you with a class in spite of the fact that we can't be together face to face, that the studio is closed right now. I am dedicated to continuing to improve myself, because if I, and that doesn't mean I need to be a superstar, it just means that if I'm not working on my attitude, if I'm not working on my vision, the things that I need to do for myself, then I really have nothing to offer you. So I'm working hard on myself as well every single day, just like you are. And then the other word that popped up to me was faithful. I really loved that word. I am faithful on so many levels. I am faithful within my beliefs. I am faithful to my practice. I am faithful to my friends and my family, especially my family at Yoga Oceanside. I am faithful to all. So that vision of depicting myself as being faithful helped lift me up. And then, let me see, there was another one that I wanted to share with you. I am hope. The story that I have to share for you is, I have some friends, and they currently live in the Texas area, but they're with the Navy, and he is retired now, and he's a veterinarian. And they actually have this mission of rescuing cats. They're primarily about cats, but they're about all animals. They do. It's just that they have a wheelhouse in feline rescues, and they're connected with a very large group for feline rescues. And they rescued, what was brought to them actually was what they deemed to be a 12-day-old kitten. And this little thing, if you've ever seen a 12-day-old kitten or anything younger than that, they just look like, you know, like a little pink worm. And this little thing came to them, and they immediately put it into the incubator. It didn't have a mother. It had not been bottle fed or weaned yet, it appeared, because it was so young. And they put it in the incubator, and they started nursing it along. And pretty soon, as they were, you know, taking care of it and bottle feeding it, here comes Merlin, he likes cat stories. Then pretty soon it started to grow a little bit at a time. It was revealed itself to be all white. And then pretty soon they were describing how certain cats will get what they call points. And it may be the tips of the ears and the nose, around the nose and on the tail, the tip of the tail, start to turn a different color. And that shows kind of what type of cat it is. I don't know that much about cats, believe it or not, but that was some revelation to me. And pretty soon the little tips started to turn a little bit of an orange color. And they started to define what they thought the breed was. And about 4 or 5 weeks have gone by since this all began. And now its ears have popped up. It's still being bottle fed right now, but it's beginning to attach itself to things. And they introduced it to their little dog. And the little dog just, it was a Chihuahua mix, just adapted it to himself, and they bonded. And they put it out there as a fundraiser to name the kitten. And everybody put in their requests, and they finally picked a winner. And the winner's name that was chosen is Hope. And it kind of really lifted my heart to think of hope. I love the idea of hope. It's not false hope when we think about getting life back to normal the way we would like to have it, or being able to rejoin with our friends. Hope lifts you up. it makes you feel better. And somehow knowing this little kitten was on death's door and has been rescued to the point where it's growing up, and now they're beginning to talk about its future and adoption and who will be the owners that take Hope over. It really lifted me up, and I thought I would offer that to you today. Have hope with everything that you do. Just keep it right up there. The oil, I don't know if you like to use an oil, but the oil that I'm using and have been using for a couple of days is jasmine oil. And jasmine oil is an amazing oil because it's a very uplifting oil. So if you're using an oil today, go ahead and feel free to pop that on. Rub those wrists together. Take a deep inhale of whatever it is that you're using. And then if you are using a little bit of music today, I typically keep the music off so you can listen to what you enjoy listening to. Go ahead and draw the music on, maybe keeping it at a low level. And then come to whatever is a comfortable posture for yourself. And just take a few deep breaths. And so today, my intention is I am hope. I am hope that all that I do for myself during these times will keep me lifted, that will be support and hope for others. That the hope that I have in myself creates a mindset of endurance, inspiration, and kindness. So just imagine what will be your intention, and then either say it out loud or just keep repeating it in your mind, whatever feels best for you. Let's just breathe that intention in for the few breaths before we get started with our practice today. And with that intention in mind, let's draw the hands to heart center. Let's begin this time with the sacred sound of Om. It's the harmonic that unifies all of us. So take a deep inhale. Om. Wonderful. Welcome, welcome, welcome. Let me get my little singing bowl out of the way. Pull that to the side. Keep my oil handy because I may be using that later. And the first thing that I want you to do is we're going to do a little bit of arm work, because when we come up to the wall, we're going to be doing back body and front body. So roll the shoulders up and around a little bit. And when you bring those shoulders up, just kind of feel like you could touch your earlobes with your shoulders, then circle them to the back and around. Give yourself a nice big circling motion. And we're lifting up and moving the shoulders back and around to start. I like doing that motion because when we roll it the opposite direction, we've already got that little anterior curve going for ourselves. So we want to try to open up those heart centers to try to make that intention become a living sankalpa with full life, to be able to make it really bubble up to the top. Good. And then just draw the arms behind you and then squeeze the shoulder blades together and lift that heart center out and up. And let's do an Om from here, okay? Take that deep inhale, sing it out. Om. Deep inhale, exhale the air out. Excellent. So we're going to take first the big, large ball, and we're going to stand up and bring yourself close to the wall. So again, you're going to see my front body, but I'm going to try to rotate a little bit. And what we're going to do is we're going to get into your lats right off the bat. And these can be sensitive. So when you get into the latissimus dorsi, which are those big muscles that move to that low back, remember, halfway through that lat that you get here, you've got like a bound of connective tissue. So opening this stuff up is excellent. And I want you to start from the bottom rib, and you're going to work your way up and just kind of zigzag. And I'm going to show you exactly what I mean. So you're going to be kind of crossing over the ribs from side to side, moving your way up the back body. So as I pop down here, I can feel here's where my bottom rib is. And I'm placing the ball close to the spine. The spine here, I'm going to move the ball out and in, and just roll from side to side. But I'm really going to give myself a rotation so that I get out to the side. So I'm going to start here, and then I'm going to move my arm out of the way as I roll. Woo! That, I can really feel that. Now, as I start to bend my knees and come down, you may want to start a little higher, and then pop yourself up, and then just keep bending the knees and allow that ball to zigzag its way up through that one side of your body. It doesn't matter whether you do the right or the left. Just keep rolling it. And if you need to help it along by lifting the ball up and rolling it up, or maybe you were standing high enough where you just bend your knees and drop a little bit, you can absolutely do that too. So just keep rolling from side to side. How does that feel? I know for me, this always feels so sensitive, but the reminder, I've said this before, so I sound like a broken record, you have the intercostal muscles that attach your ribs together. Those are like accessory breathing muscles. So when we start to loosen up that connective tissue that affects those muscles as well as the lats in this spot, now you can take a deep breath. So just keep rolling yourself from side to side. This feels very good, very bad. Very bad, very good. And just keep rolling from side to side. If you need to take it a little higher, go ahead and pop it up again. You're going to roll right across the shoulder blade because you're going to bring it right up towards your high part of your shoulder at the traps, the trapezius area here. And you're getting into the traps now as you start to get into that shoulder blade, getting into the rhomboids as well. And then just keep popping it up a little higher. I'm starting to bend my knees. I call this the Matrix move. I don't know if you ever saw that movie or series of movies with Keanu Reeves, but remember how they could, if you did, here's a description. If not, you're gonna probably wanna run to Netflix and watch it. Did I just call that Netflix? And then as you bend the knees, remember in Matrix, they would just kind of go into that like lean back and then bring that arm up, and then, you know, whatever people were shooting at them, like bullets go phew, and shoot right over them, and then they come back up again. Do the Matrix. Come back down, bring that arm up and out, and now that you're getting into the top of that shoulder, roll right across that. Just really roll right into that area. Are you still with me? Hang tight, because we're doing some really good work here today. You're gonna love this when it's all over. You're gonna give yourself a little test too. So just keep rolling. Woo. Just kind of mush right into it. And now you're gonna go right back down to where you started. So once you get into the top of that shoulder there, into that really tight trap muscle for me, then start bringing yourself back. Come out of the matrix and roll from side to side and really give yourself that rotation. You don't want to tense up too much. And if you have to drop that ball a little bit, just let it drop a little bit and roll from side to side. As you go down, you're going to notice that it feels a lot better than when you were going up. And then bring it down a little bit more and just keep rolling from side to side. Good. And then when you get down to that bottom rib, that's where you're going to finish, right there. And then take your ball, place it out of the way, and reach your arms up. It feels, to me, like this arm is longer than the other. It really isn't. It isn't. But it feels like it. the other thing that I want you to notice is as you come into that standing posture, notice how your foot feels on that side. Do you notice that there's, like for me, I have really high arches. They're wickedly high arches. And now what I feel like is my foot just leveled in and is settled to the mat a little bit better. So it feels good. The last thing that I want you to do is just relax the arms to the side and take a really deep breath. And then exhale it out. Did you notice that that side feels like you could breathe a little bit more expansion? It's subtle. It's not uber dramatic. It's just a little subtle, but you can almost feel that you can breathe a little deeper on that side. Good, yes? Yes. So let's switch it to the other side. Remember, you're starting at the bottom rib and you're gonna be rolling from side to side, working your way up the back. So you might want to actually lift it up really high and then start rolling from side to side. And you can reach that arm out, get ready for your matrix move, and then just keep working your way down. Yeah. Very good. And just keep rolling it. So what music are you playing today? Are you playing something that you enjoy listening to, or are you just really enjoying the sounds of your environment or the quiet? We can all do different things when we're listening. And lately, I have to tell you, I've been playing. I have one of those devices that when you say her name, she will start playing music for you. And I haven't mentioned her once. I hope she's not feeling lonely, but, and just keep working your way down. I'm bending my knees pretty far, and I'm gonna have to come up and bring the ball a little higher. And I'm going pretty broad as I get closer towards the upper shoulder. Is this a hot spot for you? And it's usually a big one because of the prominence of connective tissue around that muscle on either side of the spine. And keep rolling, kind of falling off here. Here it comes. Get ready. Are you ready to do your matrix? Be the Keanu. And keep rolling from side to side and work your way all the way up to the top of that shoulder. Good. And just keep massaging. This feels really good. I could totally space out and do this for quite a while, especially when I get up into my traps. And keep working it. We have been immersed in, probably most of us, that's a generalization, many of us, in so much technology, I mean, hello, that all of a sudden we find that we've got a lot of tension, maybe far more tension than you ever carried through your shoulders before. And so doing things like this helps open up that back body, which then relieves a lot of this anterior curve that we get in the front of our chest that kind of shuts down the breathing space that you have. When you roll those shoulders forward, you're closing off that little heart center and it's hard to take a deep breath. Good, now begin to work your way back, work the ball back down, come out of the matrix and keep rolling it down a little bit at a time. You may have to pop it down somewhat and keep rolling. And come back to center a little bit here. And as I'm zigzagging my way, it feels so much better, right? Yeah. And then we're gonna do one of my favorite stretches. We're gonna have a couple of different stretch components. We're usually primarily ball rolling when we do our session of stretch and release. So we're a lot heavy on the release side as opposed to the stretch. But today we're gonna be incorporating quite a few other stretches. And Janu Shirshasana is one of my absolute favorite stretches of all times because I have a lot of low back trouble. And so that pose helps me open up so much through my hips and my low back. And then did you get to the bottom rib? If you got to the bottom rib, go ahead and release from there. And you can drop the ball down, reach the arms up, and voila, everything feels so good now. So let's come down to the mat, have a seat, grab your strap if you're using that. I wash my feet today, so you won't have to see dirty feet. So when we go into Janu Shirshasana, it's known as the one that targets the quadratus lumborum muscles. Those are those muscles that from the ribs to the pelvis that are on the low back. And they can create a lot of tension throughout the hips, the legs, the hamstrings, your calves, your shoulders, everywhere. So just by giving those a little bit of a break, we can start to feel a lot more release throughout the whole body. I'm going to take my left foot to the inside of my right leg. And typically the pose is I would take my left hand and reach towards the outside of my foot. But if that's not comfortable for you, then grab whatever strap you're using, anchor it at the end of your foot, hold on to it with your left hand, and feel as though you're bringing that left shoulder towards the right knee. Yeah, just kind of feel that nice deep stretch through that low right back. And then breathe deep. And then release from there. Switch it to the other side. Just a monster great stretch. Remember, you can readjust the location of your foot depending on how your knee feels. So if your knee is struggling to bring the foot up this high, go ahead and drop it down farther. You're just by resting the foot to the inside of your knee joint isn't going to really compromise that at all. Because you're not pressing against it. You're just resting it there. But if you feel better dropping it all the way down to the calf, then feel free to do that. So wherever it feels good to you, hold on to the strap of your foot with that right hand and rotate that right shoulder towards the left knee. And then just take some deep breaths there. Maybe in the quiet months of your practice, take time to think about your intention. I like to think about my intention. I like to repeat it in my mind so that it embeds itself. And today, I like the Sankalpa. I am hope. And then release from there. Ooh, yeah, mama, go ahead and pop those knees. Feeling nice? Yeah, good. So we're going to keep the approach on the back body because today a lot of it is about learning to use the wall when your low back is compromised, when you don't feel comfortable lying on your mat. So we're going to go back to the large ball, and now we're going to do the front body. So remember I said we're switching from back to front? What I want you to think about is when you roll your shoulder forward, the pocket that you get right there in that shoulder roll, and then bring that shoulder back open, that's exactly where this large ball is going to be. Now we've done this when we're flat down on the mat, but sometimes, again, for people with low back issues, it's not comfortable. So pardon my back to you. I'm gonna push right against the wall there and rotate into that in a circular fashion. So I'm just rotating around circularly. And as I do, what I want you to think about, keep doing that because I'm going to come and talk to you for a second. When you do that, sometimes you start to tense up the shoulder. I want you to try to relax that arm as much as possible. Just let it be like a marionette's arms where the puppet master is not pulling on the strings. So just keep the arm nice and relaxed and keep rotating right into that in that circular fashion. Take some very deep breaths. Kind of let your headspace go to places of some positivity, some lifting yourself up. Mind, body, spiritually, doing the things that you need to do to keep yourself anchored in this moment. Good. And then just compress at the spot where you need to compress. When you step your feet farther away from the wall, you're going to feel deeper compression. So it just depends. Do you want to be close up, or do you want to lean into it and get yourself deeper into it? Then once you get there into that compression spot against the wall, start sweeping the arm up and around. You're going to lift the arm up and rotate to the back and just keep circling. You're doing great. Then draw that arm behind your back. Notice that the back of my hand is resting on the back of my hip. And when you go there, compress and roll. There's the money shot. Yeah, that's very deep. You're doing great. Just keep hanging on. Good. And then release from there. Go ahead and reach the arms up and just notice what occurred right there. Notice how it feels. Notice how it looks to your body from side to side. Good. And then we're going to switch it to the other side. So shoulder pocket, rest it in place, to the wall, and then massage. I'm going to be really careful here so I don't mow over the mic. Yeah, just keep rolling. And remember, arm is relaxed. You're trying not to lift that arm up or tighten it. You're trying to keep it nice and easy. Doing good. And just keep massaging right in there. I was trying to bring up the chat spot on this, but I can't find it right now. So I'm just going to leave it as it is. And then start sweeping that arm. Just hold it in one spot and keep sweeping that arm up and down. Just up and down. I thought I saw a comment from somebody and it popped up so briefly I couldn't see it. God. I'm grateful for vision, but I'd really be grateful for reading vision. Yeah, just keep sweeping that arm. Excellent. Then hold it in place against the wall, back of the hand to the back of the hips, and press and massage right in that space. This is such a good thing to do. And talk about opening up the power of breath. This is doing it. So just keep massaging with that hand behind you. Take some really deep breaths right here, because once we break free, we're going to roll it down to the mat for a moment and just take a few breaths. If you don't want to roll it down to the mat and you want to stay in a standing posture for a little bit longer, that's fine. And then go ahead and release. And then try to just, if you're comfortable with it, take it down to the mat, reach the arms out and overhead, relax the arms to the side, and feel what is happening with your body here. Things are opening up like crazy. Good. And then draw the knees to your chest. Give yourself a little rock side to side. Good. Excellent. And then roll over to one side and push your little self up. Good. I'm going to come back to this seated posture. And you can do this standing or seated. I'll show you if you're already seated on the mat. Just take the hands behind you. It's just what we did in the beginning. Go ahead and lift that chest out and up and squeeze those shoulder blades together. If you're standing, you can move into that chest expansion, clasping the hands, drawing the arms back. Remember, don't let that head start to jut forward. Just keep that chest open. Neck is very neutral. And take about 3 more deep breaths right there. Nice and deep. Good. Feel it opening up. I can hear it all the way over here. I can hear you breathing. It sounds fabulous. Good, good. And then release from there. Excellent. So now what we're going to do is keep the small balls in the mesh tote, and you're going to roll the erector spinae. Those are the big muscle that straps on either side of your spinal column. And now that we've loosened up lats, and to a degree, the trapezius and the rhomboids, those are primary big upper back muscles, then we're gonna roll that erector spinae up and down. And so you're gonna place the balls, and remember, you don't wanna go any lower than your rib cage, and you can go as high as what we call T1, that's the first prominent vertebra that pops out at the top of the spine at the base of your neck. So that's a long haul. You may wanna roll little bits of space at a time and then take on that movement by just dropping the balls into a different spot. So all will become clear. I'm gonna start right about at the base of my rib cage. The balls are tight in the toad. I'm tightening them up again. And they're gonna straddle my spine. And then I'm actually standing as tall as I can here, and then rolling up and down. Now, when you walk your feet away from the wall, you will start to increase the load of compression on the balls. So if you're pressing at too high of an intensity, then just walk your feet in and that will lighten the load. Just drop your knees and just make sure your knees don't feel uncomfortable. If you drop your knees so that the knees jet past the toes and it feels uncomfortable in your knees, just go in a little shorter range of space, just like that, and then move the balls up and roll a little bit at a time. If you're a big roller, a high roller, then go ahead and step those feet away and give yourself a broader expanse from up to down. And this feels wonderful. By really opening up the connective tissue in the lats, and I'm gonna bring it a little higher now, that helped decrease the intensity of this particular roll. And I like keeping them in the mesh toad at this point because that makes sure that they don't fall out and roll all over the place, which is a typical thing that happens when you're doing ball rolling. They have a tendency to get away. And just keep moving it up and down. It's cute because I have some folks that have reached out to me and said that their dogs at home have taken over all of their balls, and they need to get more because they said they're kind of chewed up now and I can't really use them. They got dog spit on them. So if your dog has absconded with your balls, for gosh sakes, it's tough times. Let your dog have those balls. And you can get another set. And then just keep rolling up and down. That is great. Now I'm right at about just above the lower edge of my shoulder blades. So from here, and take it up even higher, and then step away and roll right almost to that T1 spot that I was talking about. But I'm not in the base of my neck, not at all. And just keep rolling. So this is all about that upper back and opening up through the chest to try to keep our motivations and our inspirations very lifted up. So everything that I've used today, between the jasmine oil, kind of my intention, my focus, as well as where I'm rolling, is all binding together for a very uplifted experience. I'm feeling very good. I hope you are too. And just press the spot that is the spot for you. And what I mean by that is we all have a tender spot that we're working at, right? You find it when you roll across it, you go, oh, that's it. Hold there and then reach the arms up and circle around. You could do this on your back body, lying flat on the mat, absolutely. I am using a mat underneath me. I'm on a hardwood floor, but my feet would probably slip a little bit on the hardwood floor. So just be really aware that you are stable so that you can relax into your ball practice and not worry about holding yourself in postures or avoiding a slip. And just keep circling. And I'm going to roll those balls actually up a little bit higher, still in a very safe zone, and keep circling. And now I've found that compression spot pretty high up on the shoulders. Let me turn around and I'll show you exactly where they are. I'm going to hold them in place. They're that high. Here's T1 on me, and I'm just below it about T2, T3. So that's my hot spot. I'm going to compress from there, and now I'm going to drop the chin to my chest. And again, you could do this on the mat. If you're reclining on the mat, just follow me here. And just hold on to that little stretch, and then try to draw the shoulders down as you're doing that. And just hold it in place. And then give yourself the shortest range little roll. Just compress and roll. Boy, this feels so good to me. I hope it feels good for you. Good. And then release from there. Yeah. Yeah. Drop it down. And now what we're going to do is we're going to do a specific stretch for the hamstrings. Remember when I said that all of this stuff that we do actually benefits you throughout your entire body. So the way we're going to do this hamstring stretch is we're actually going to take a lot of the adductors out of the way as well as the hip flexors out of the way. And we're going to lie down on the mat and rest our legs up against the wall. Let me show you something, a little something today. I've got my strap, and when I sit against the wall like so, I've got my left hip right on the wall. So when I roll back and then switch my hips around, I am right up against it. My booty doesn't have to be resting on the baseboard, but I'm close enough where my legs are actually at a 90-degree angle from my torso. From here, I'm going to strap the bottom of my one foot, doesn't matter which, and then draw the leg in and back it off a little bit, and then draw it in and back it off a little bit. And what I'm doing is a nice, even, dynamic stretch to help stretch those hamstrings. And because the legs are up on the wall, those internal thigh muscles, the adductors, as well as my hip flexors, which is on the front of your hip, are out of the picture. They're not complicating your ability to be able to stretch. Also, because I'm not seated upright in a forward fold, I'm letting gravity kind of work with me. So it's assisting. And notice that I'm not bouncing like that. That's ballistic, and that's a very negative experience for your body in most occasions. Not all, but most occasions. I'm just gradually pulling it in and backing it off. So we're going to do that gradual dynamic movement for 8 more breaths. Think of inhaling as you draw it in, exhale to back it off. And each time, just kind of bring yourself to the point of gentle resistance so that you can feel you're getting some good work here. Now, if you don't like your head rested to the mat in this location, more than welcome to use a block to give yourself a little bit of support on the back of the head. It's hard for me to reach up and over with the block on my head, but this works really nicely. Now, once you get through that 8th breath, and I think I've got about 3 more to go. So inhaling, exhaling, take a deep breath in to pull it in. And what you may notice is you're starting to stretch a little deeper on each one. That's what we're going to think about. And then we're going to go into that adductor stretch, the inside of your thigh. So when you bring the leg in, just to the point of gentle resistance from there, just bend that knee and draw the knee into the chest or just outside of it. And you'll feel the stretch open up on the inside of that thigh. And just hold on to it for a few more breaths. Good, and then release from there. Beautiful. Now, We talk about the outermost hamstring sometimes in my classes. I love to get into this muscle because so often your primary hamstring takes over when you go into a hamstring stretch. So put that strap back to the same foot. Draw the leg into the point of gentle resistance, then hold on with the opposite hand and draw it just across your body, not too far. You don't really want to feel it in the hip. You just want to feel it on that outermost hamstring on the back of your thigh. Just hold on to it there. Leg is nice and straight and lengthened. And the other leg is just still resting against the wall. I'll just hang on. I hope my strap didn't bash into the microphone. And just hang on. Take a few more breaths. I know that that is hitting a spot that you rarely get to feel. And then release from there and switch it off to the other side. So moving right back into the dynamic stretch. Inhaling, bring it in. Exhale, back it off. And just keep moving through that stretch. I do a lot of exploration in my home laboratory here. I like to explore what works and what doesn't, so that by the time I get to you, I know something has been pretty tried and true. But not being in your body, I always remind you, do the things that feel right. If you feel like you need to back off a little bit, go for it. This is your time, for gosh sakes. You want to make sure that this matters to you. And then just give me 5 more. Just inhale, point of gentle resistance. Exhale to release it off. Ooh, that's feeling good. Got about 3 more to go there. And 2, and 1, and back off. And then draw the knee in and bend that knee so that you access the inside of your thigh right there. That feels good. And this time, sometimes I'll offer bring the elbow to the inside of the knee. You don't need to do that. Just access the stretch that feels good right there and hold on to it. Maybe 2 or 3 more breaths here. That's terrific. And then lengthen the leg. Hold on to that strap with the other hand and draw it over the side just a little bit. So you've brought the leg in and then guide it over the right. And notice it's hardly any space that I've moved it over. I've just moved it over that much. And that's where I feel that hamstring pop on that outer side. And it's a good stretch. I'm not feeling any burning, no sharpness. I can take deep breaths. I just feel like my body is giving itself what it exactly needs right now in this moment. Good, and then release from there. Go ahead and draw your knees in, roll it over to one side, and push yourself back to an upright seated posture. Go ahead and come to the mat in a comfortable seated posture, and let's do a little check-in. Oh gosh, we opened up so much through the hips, but where we were really headed to was the heart center today. So just relax and take a few deep breaths. Good. And then shoulder circles up and around. And when we began, you might have felt a lot of tension in that upper body. And you might have felt like your shoulders weren't really having a broad range of motion. And then all of a sudden now you might feel like you have more space to move. And I hope so. Good. So if there's another little posture or stretch that you need to move into, feel free to do that real briefly. Just take a few breaths there. Otherwise, we're going to be rolling it down to the mat. And from that reclining posture, we're going to do a couple of just little working stretches for the hips to open things up and resettle that low back down. You've done so much work for the upper body that you can probably breathe a lot easier and it feels more comfortable. So when you're ready, no more ball work at this point, but you can certainly use the block to rest your head on if you need to. We're going to roll it down to the mat and grab your strap and take it to the ends of your feet. Draw the legs up and then take your feet. They don't have to be super wide apart, but they're a little bit wider apart. And hold on to your strap nice and firm and press the outer edges of your feet into the strap. You might have seen that little kind of tensing through my legs as I push the outer edges of my feet into the strap and then bend the knees and draw them into my chest. Try to anchor your low spine down to the mat. Try not to roll up the hips, but just keep that lower spine anchored in. And just take a deep breath. This is so good for your anchoring Muladhara chakra, the root. The reason why it is when we do a lot of upper body work, it's lovely and we love it. But sometimes it can take us into a real high headspace that we're not quite in touch with things that we need to be. We're in touch with our hearts and kind of our more of our intuitive eye and raising ourselves up and out. But sometimes at the end of the day, it's nice to reground ourselves so that we are connected with this earth. And then draw the legs together. Legs are straight. I'm still using my strap. Press the tailbone down and draw the legs in so you feel that stretch in your hamstring muscles on the back. And now you'll see what I was talking about. That primary hamstring is going to be the one that actually you feel it the most. Good. And then release from there. Go ahead and roll it down to your back. If you're playing some music, you might want to actually turn that down a little bit. And if you're using an oil, feel free to place some of that on. I'm going to do that in just a moment as I roll my strap up and put it to the side. I'm going to get my singing bowls out. Good. And place a little bit more of my jasmine oil on. Nice deep breaths there. And then as you start to relax yourself into your mat, take a couple of deep breaths. Remember your intention. The I am statement that fulfilled you, that lifted you up. If it's just a vision, let it be. If you need a little blanket or an eye pillow put on over your eyes or to warm your body, then feel free to draw that on at this point. If you need a bolster behind your knees, feel free to grab one. Then just relax yourself into the mat. Settle in for just a few moments and close your eyes and just allow the sounds of our little singing bowls here to resonate. And allow this exhale to be the one that lets you move into relaxation. I'll stay quiet for a little bit of time, and when it's time to come back, I'll come for you. Take a breath. Maybe move your fingers and your toes. Give yourself a little bit of a stretch. And then when you're ready, roll over to one side. Take your time and gently push yourself back to an upright seated posture. Good. Take a deep inhale and blow the air out. And check in. Check in to your intention that you set at the beginning of our practice here together. And see if it keeps you lifted up. Even though the actions may not be done like this throughout your day, the intentions can be. So keep that vibrant in your heart and your mind today as you go on throughout the hours, so that by the end of the day, you lived. Didn't exist. You truly lived. Let's draw our hands at the heart center. And we'll close this time with the sacred sound of Om. Take a deep inhale. Om. Lokaha. Samistaha Sukino Bhavantu. May all beings everywhere be happy, free, and at peace. Namaste. Thank you so much for joining us today. Signing off until next week. Come and join us then and bring a friend.